Well, it is officially official. Ron DeSantis dropping out. There are only two left when it comes to the Republican primary season. We're not even to Super Tuesday yet, and it is just Nikki Haley and Donald Trump. And there's a lot of speculation surrounding those two, what Nikki Haley will do if she loses New Hampshire, and really kind of the legal situation with Trump and the racketeering case in Georgia that will be coming up. Could that cause Nikki Haley to stay in the race? We're going to talk about it later on in this video, but first, I wanted to break down the DeSantis news. I did a video yesterday just before he officially dropped out. There were rumors he was going to because he had pulled all of his ads, all of his funding. People might be wondering, maybe a little bit confused, if DeSantis outperformed Nikki Haley by 2 points in Iowa, got one more delegate, why would he drop out before Haley? Well, it really comes down to his polling in many of these upcoming primary states, including New Hampshire, where he's at just 5 or 6%. He drops out, he puts out a statement, he does a video, and he just looked so relieved for it to finally be over. The campaign trail, Vivek Ramaswamy doing a similar thing after Iowa, and DeSantis. The key thing, and this is what I predicted, and a lot of people predicted, he did endorse Donald Trump. He is backing Trump, and he's kind of falling in line in terms of that. Not surprising considering where we're at in terms of the Republican Party and the overall ecosystem, with about 70% of conservatives backing Trump, 30% maybe more pro-establishment, pro-Nikki Haley, maybe never Trump, although those people I think will also fall in line as long as Trump doesn't get any type of federal charges or anything like that. But I just want to talk about kind of the political future of Ron DeSantis. I did a similar video for Vivek Ramaswamy. DeSantis, I would imagine, is probably going to go kind of to the background, maybe the back burner for a little bit here as the election season really heats up. You know, it's crazy. I was reflecting, could you imagine a world where instead of running for president, Ron DeSantis comes out and says, I'm not running this cycle, I'm just endorsing Trump? I'm not going to say there's a 100% chance because you really never know with politics, but I think there's a very good chance Trump would have chose DeSantis to be VP, probably like an 80 or 90% chance, because you have to remember, DeSantis was the new big thing. He had won Florida by 20 points in the midterms. He had single-handedly swung Florida into a conservative state with a mass migration of conservatives into that state. If you look at the voter registration, conservatives versus liberals, it's crazy now. Republicans with a massive advantage, and it is absolutely huge in terms of the overall general election, getting Florida locked down, formerly a swing state, the amount of electoral votes it has. It is crazy. So DeSantis does all of that. And I understand why DeSantis ran, and I said this yesterday, everyone's going to start coming out with articles. DeSantis has a failed campaign, he can't connect with voters, it was a mess, and that's all anecdotal, none of it matters. The thing that DeSantis and me, honestly, we underestimated was the amount of base support that Donald Trump has within the Republican Party. I thought it was around 30 to 40%, it's actually over 50%. And when you've got something like that, it's basically impossible to overcome it, because not only is Trump getting more than 50% of conservative support, he's also going to get some people kind of on the edge, kind of thinking, who do I vote for? He'll get a few of those. And that's where we're at right now with Trump really taking control of the Republican Party. This goes back to 2015, 2016, all the media attacks, winning against Hillary. It really gave him a ton of, brownie points within the Republican Party, and DeSantis clearly underestimated the amount of base support that Trump has. And you can also say DeSantis' campaign was run poorly. I'm not going to disagree with that. This whole thing where people are like, oh, DeSantis sounds weird when he talks, he can never be president. I don't buy that at all. I think that's ridiculous. I personally don't have a problem with DeSantis and the way he talks. I think that's just nitpicking. It doesn't have to do with that. It's just Trump's base support is so big. And then DeSantis, I talked about this yesterday, he was kind of 1 foot in, 1 foot out with Trump, to where he would agree with some of the things Trump said. At the beginning of this whole thing, when he announced he was running, Trump's number one arch rival and MAGA's number one arch rival was DeSantis, because he was seen as the number one threat. over the past few months, that's changed to Nikki Haley because of some of the rhetoric she said, and also the fact that she was getting propped up by donors after a few bad debates by DeSantis. I will agree, DeSantis did not do well in those first few debates. I think he beat Nikki Haley in their head-to-head debate, but at that point it didn't matter. But either way, when it comes to DeSantis and his political future, he's so young. That's important to understand. I was able to find his approval rating, and you can see, I mean, he had a very impressive approval rating back, 2022. It was basically even, especially nowadays. DeSantis is so polarizing, and so many Democrats, even in 2022, did not like him. For him to have an even approval rating is really impressive, and recently it's gone completely terrible. He's, unfavorable plus 15, and a lot of that is conservative base MAGA people disapproving of DeSantis because he got into that feud with Trump. But can DeSantis rekindle and revitalize his political career because he is so young? I think it's going to be pretty hard, man. It's one of those things where it's like, if you don't strike while the iron's hot and you don't get that VP spot, because there's a world, again, where DeSantis says, I'm not going to run against Trump. I see the writing on the wall. Trump has a huge base. If I run against Trump, I'm immediately becoming an enemy of Trump and his supporters. Why not just support him? And then Trump picks me for VP. And we remember going back like a year ago, the dream scenario for a lot of base conservative, Trump supporters was DeSantis is Trump's VP, and then DeSantis takes over and runs in 2028. You would think that would work out perfectly with the VP going from VP to president, DeSantis getting the extra, leadership, being in the news, being the VP, and then running on the 2028 ticket as the Republican nominee for president. That was kind of always the thought. But this situation now with DeSantis, what's happened recently, the approval rating down, a lot of the shine is off of him at this point, and it makes him a lot more unattractive if you are Trump and you're picking a VP. He was very attractive as a VP pick because of how well he did in Florida, how he influenced that state, his face-off with Gavin Newsom. But now at this point, if you're Trump, you're thinking about strategy. Who should I pick? It's coming down to like Vivek or maybe a female to balance the ticket. That's kind of what I feel like it's coming down to right now. There's also Ben Carson thrown in there. Maybe DeSantis gets thrown in there, but it's a different type of DeSantis. The public perception of DeSantis is a lot worse right now than it was a year ago with this failed presidential campaign run that only lasted one state. It's crazy. DeSantis was only in a caucus. I would have never predicted this coming into this year. It looked like it was going to be a heavyweight Trump-DeSantis battle. Maybe there was someone else coming in as a wild card. But the fact that we're only one state done and the race is over. Like, I saw a headline and the headline was like, Nikki Haley gets what she wants, one-on-one with Trump. It just doesn't matter. She just doesn't have the support at this point. Her only hope is for Trump to be charged with some type of federal crime. That would be her only chance. She does not have the support. Even in New Hampshire, she doesn't have the support. With Democrats voting as independents and voting for her, it's probably not going to matter. You look, Trump's up 14 or 15 in a lot of these polls. Even if he underperforms, he's likely to win by at least 7 or 8 points. So in terms of Nikki Haley, she's just hoping, and this is kind of where it comes into, well, why doesn't she drop out? I think the establishment is wondering, what if Trump gets charged? What if there's an issue there? I don't think Trump is going to get charged with a federal crime, but then again, that's just speculation. I mean, we've never seen anything like this with a dude who's about to, he was the president, then he lost, now he's running again, and he's facing these charges. It's such an unforeseen situation. Certainly I'll give my full take when it comes out and things like that. A lot of these judges are Democrats. They're very biased against Trump, so that could be a problem. But either way, as I look at it right now, Nikki Haley, she needs some type of court system to come in and save her, because there is no way she is beating Trump just with a conservative vote in the primary. She does not have the support. DeSantis dropping out is actually going to help Trump, just like Vivek dropping out, especially DeSantis coming out and supporting Trump. The writing is on the wall. The political strategy he's using is smart. It's a waste of money to stay in the race. Save yourself some time. try and get back on a lot of these Republicans' good side by dropping out and immediately endorsing Trump. And when it comes to DeSantis' future, again, he's young, he's got serious potential, like legitimately changing the math in the state of Florida. And you can say, well, it wasn't just DeSantis, but DeSantis played a big part in that, man. He really did. Like, you look at, I mean, I've really been involved in two election cycles, 2016 and 2020. The math for conservatives this year, you could argue, well, Georgia is now a swing state, so it's worse. But if you look at Florida, it is such a different state than it was in 2020 and 2016, just in terms of it going from a swing state to pro-Republican, and just the math for Republicans opens up even more, having both Florida and Ohio. Again, understanding that you can say, well, Georgia, which was a conservative state, we all thought conservatives were going to win in 2020. Now that's a swing state. Now it's a toss-up. But Florida, it's just so important. So DeSantis has done some really good things. I think he needs to calm down, lay low for a bit, and see what happens. But certainly a failed, campaign like that is not going to help you. It has significantly hurt him. And then just taking a look at the batting averages, I thought this was funny. I haven't looked at this in a little while. For President Trump now, 10 percentage points ahead of Biden. Almost a 42% chance to be president. Biden at almost a 32% chance. And how about Michelle Obama? I don't know if there was some news that came out about her or whatever, but now she's actually in front of Nikki Haley at around 7.5%. You can see conservatives, Trump up to 85% chance. It's probably going to get even higher. Brian Kemp on there, by the way. They had to just put someone else on there. DeSantis dropped out, though, so he's going to go down to 0. And then for the Democrats, Michelle Obama moving in front of Gavin Newsom. Biden only at 67%. That's pretty crazy. Trump's at 85%. Biden's at 67%. These are just betting averages, but I think it at least gives you kind of an overview and kind of a picture of where we stand in terms of the chances of each candidate. And then I saw this funny poll. How about the state of New York? Yes, New York is a swing state in 2024. Joe Biden under 10 points, single-digit lead. Guys, I'm trolling. Joe Biden is not going to lose New York, but I thought that was funny, +9. And then you include RFK Jr. and Cornel West, he's still +9. Republican primary, Trump at around 74% there. And then the generic ballot, Democrats with a big advantage, +17. But that is honestly really good news for Trump. You could say it's just a one-off poll, whatever, but only being down 9 in New York State, wow. That's pretty impressive. I mean, there are a lot of districts in New York that are conservative. It's just like California, but the mass population centers, of course, are extremely liberal. But either way, guys, that is going to do it for this video. Make sure you follow me on X. Link to that's always in the description.